everybody. Mayo with BizCrown Media. More of a casual table talk. I want to talk about the H&M fiasco. You might have not have heard, but H&M came out with a model, a young black boy, that had a t-shirt that said, "The coolest kid in the jungle." What? And that just sent everybody going crazy. I mean, who knew LeBron James could do Photoshop? I mean, had a shirt that said, "You're a king." It changed all that. There were tons of images, tons of things saying, "Hey, that's wrong," and whatnot. And what you're seeing is how local marketing in a global connected world is playing out. So much uproar, so much fiasco on this, as it should be, depending on where you're looking at it. And I'm not here to take side. I'm just stating the facts here. LeBron James did that. The Weeknd, who's a star, cut ties with amongst all this happening, you know what the mom of the boy said? "Get over it." Now, if anybody was to throw a fit, it probably would be the mom, first of all, right? And part of the questions you would realize that people were asking was, where's the mom when all this was happening? The mom was present. The mom took the boy to the modeling gig. The mom had no issues with it. And what you're seeing is how culture and marketing in the global world are playing out. And how maybe global brands need to be a little bit more cognizant of how now their global presence affects local spots. The mom is black, probably with African descent. She's Swedish. And you know what? In Africa, a monkey doesn't mean anything. It does not mean anything. You had a monkey on your shirt, there's nothing there. Not whatsoever. Probably in Europe. And if you think of it, they took down the post. They made sure it wasn't showing the United States. It was still up in the United Kingdom till not too long ago before they still took it down based on the uproar. And they probably did that, I'm telling you, probably did that because America is probably one of their biggest, if not their biggest market, and they had to cater to that. And so they apologized. And it's all just kind of interesting. Now, again, I'm going back to the fact that monkeys don't mean squat when you're from a global perspective. I'm saying this based on experience. I have an African background. I've schooled in the United States. I did a lot of my elementary schooling here. And so I kind of understand both cultures and how things can play in a culture. And I'm going to give you a personal example. So when I started working as an intern for an African American agency, right when I was still doing my master's, I came out with it. I was an art director. And so there was an ad that I was supposed to do, which had to do with a famous black theater. And they said they were going to have all these things there. So I created an ad and put so many things in there. And one of the things I put in there was a watermelon, a smiling watermelon. Oh my God. I thought my head was going to get cut off when the head of the agency saw it. I mean, it was like I was going to get shot by Jesse Jackson. I mean, it was so insane and I couldn't make it out. I could not understand why it was an issue. Apparently, watermelon had some sort of racial tone attached to it that I was not aware of. I'm going to give you another example. I was working on a big project where I was assigned to work with somebody. I'm not going to mention his last name. His name was Tom, and he was a pretty cool guy. And we would do meetings, and I actually looked at him like an elder figure, respectable figure. So I started calling him Uncle Tom. And no idea. Of course, I never read the book, never heard about it. Because I did most of my high schooling in Nigeria. Most of my elementary schooling was here, but most of my high schooling was in Nigeria. So the whole Uncle Tom thing passed me. And I was calling this guy Uncle Tom for a while. Till somebody called me and said, "Hey, do you know what that means?" And I go, "No, I mean, Uncle Tom, I don't know what that means." He goes, "Oh, you need to read about this." I read about it, and I kid you not, I had a panic attack after reading it. And so you get to see how culture plays with people that are not imbibed in different cultures. And this is a clear example of the same situation. So the mom's not throwing a fit, the mom doesn't care. The UK people in Europe barely cared because most of them are with direct African descent, where the monkey on your shirt, the monkey does not mean, again, doesn't mean anything. Doesn't mean anything. So these are sort of the things that, you know, from a marketing standpoint, especially if you're a global brand, the sorry part is not really it. You have to have global checks and balances. So there has to be, if there was somebody in Sweden that knew about global cultures and how things operated differently in different spaces, that person could have said, oh my God, if you put this out in the States, this is going to be huge. But even if you put it out in here, even if we put it out here and somebody picks it up in the States, we are going to be in big trouble because that's probably one of our biggest markets. And so that's sort of how what we're seeing in this media, very globally connected media world, how we have to be very careful as a brand on how we sort of communicate. And so H&M has said, oh, I'm sorry, and stuff. And I'm going, well, I'm just hoping you're not saying you're sorry. I'm hoping you're putting global quality assurance marketing systems in place so that this doesn't happen, because you'll be surprised that's for this culture. Some other culture could be something else that they'll do, and not being sensitive to that, you don't know how much it's going to cost them now just because of this. On the flip side though, it also lets you know how connected we are. You put out something in Sweden, and here in the United States, we already get it, or we already can purchase it, or we already can connect with it. So that's huge. So on the flip side, you're going, we are really a globally connected world that we could take a huge advantage of the connections, but at the same time, we have to set quality assurance, especially if you're a big brand, quality assurance measures in place so that all these things based on culture sensitivity don't affect your brand. So just kind of like an interesting scenario that I thought I would share on how H&M got themselves into this situation, and probably how they can prevent themselves from getting into it. Not just them, but all the other big brands.